all this new stuff but cutting taxes, where does the money come from? Shit, bro. That's a good question too. That's a good fucking question too, because cutting the taxes honestly does not boost the economy as much as people want to say it does. It doesn't. Cutting the economy helps rich people become richer. Yo, chat, I said yesterday how much money I have in my bank accounts. And the fact that I just have that money sitting in bank accounts and I have some of it invested tells you all you need to know about people who have money. They're not gonna fucking go out and start a business or give people money. They're cheap. Most successful people are hoarders. When you work for the money and you're not getting it some silly way like, oh, I'm streaming and I'm getting paid a check. No, you're just doing your own thing and you worked hard to get your money. You're gonna end up hoarding it, bro. Like nobody's got, those tax cuts aren't helping nobody at all. They're just making the rich people have more money in their bank account. And when you have a lot of money, it doesn't even matter how much money you have. That's the other thing. Poor people don't realize this. When you have a lot of money, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. At that point, you're kind of living free. Do you think that when I buy something, I look at my bank account balance to see how much I've spent or how much I haven't spent? I don't. There's no need to do that. You think that every month I look at my bills and I like calculate how much I need to pay and how much I have? I don't. It's like living with no money. When you have a lot of money, it's like you have no money at all. Because it doesn't matter anymore. It's just a fucking number somewhere. I'm not over here pinching pennies and calculating. So that money's just sitting there doing nothing for the most part. Some of it, look, I already made up my mind that the money from the settlement, I'm investing all of it. Because why would I need it? I don't need it for anything. That's my point. My point is that when you have a lot of money, you don't need it. It's like fucking imaginary numbers. It doesn't matter. It's just a fucking number at that point. But investing it is also not helping the other people. It's not helping the bottom rung of society. Because when you invest the money, the only people who are benefiting are other rich people. It's a system where all the people at the top are just shifting money around, but the people underneath them in the lower layers aren't getting shit. That's why I think tax cuts isn't a good fucking strategy. I think that a stimulus is a good strategy. I think that giving out the checks like they did during COVID is a good strategy. Even though we also ran into another problem with the checks. Inflation. Because unfortunately, human beings are greedy. Human beings are greedy, and when they gave out the checks, since more common people, the bottom rungs of society had money to spend, and they did go out and spend the money, it caused inflation because now all of the fucking prices for all of the goods also went up because the companies were like, okay, yeah, it's going to inflate. It's inflation. Exactly what I'm saying. Exactly. Rob, the thing is, none of us are smart enough to understand how this shit works. That's the problem. And I don't just mean in the chat. I mean in general. Nobody's smart enough to understand how this shit works. It's like a fucking, because it's not even, the problem is that it's not even something that can be replicated with consistency. Does that make sense? Like, they might give the stimulus checks once in one season or to one generation, and it might cause one effect. And then you give another generation the exact same checks, and it causes a different effect. There's just too many use cases. There's too many variables. It's impossible to know what's going to happen. It's a system that's too complicated. Too complicated. It's impossible to calculate. It's impossible to fucking understand. So nobody in the chat can understand it. None of us can understand it. Nobody in the government understands it. Like, you need a fucking supercomputer that can analyze every single person on the planet and determine what pattern we're going to follow. It's impossible. He says, if you give someone living paycheck to paycheck 2K, they will never invest. They're going to run to the Foot Locker and buy 20 pairs of Jordans and be broke next week. Yeah, but it does pump money into the economy. But the problem is that the price of the Jordans goes up because they say, oh, everybody has money. They're buying Jordans. Let's inflate the price. So it causes inflation. That's what happened during COVID. Like I said, it's too complicated, bro. I'm not smart. I admit I am not smart enough to understand the fucking solution to the problem or to be able to predict what's going to happen next because it's too complicated. It's too fucking, it's unpredictable. The reason it's unpredictable is because we're dealing with human beings. Human beings aren't rational. They're irrational actors. If you ever tried to trade stocks, you've heard this term 100 times. Human beings are irrational actors. Animal spirits are up. That means that they're irrational. They're going to make decisions based off of nothing. This year, you could give them a check for $2,000 and they might do something smart with it. Next year, you give them a check for $2,000 and everybody might spend it on some dumb shit. The trends are unpredictable. Bear market, exactly. You never know what's gonna happen, bro. No one understands how this shit works. It's too complicated. Look at was that last year or the year before last year with the NFTs and all the bullshit? Unpredictable market, bro. If you had a time machine and you could jump in that bitch and go back to 2017 and tell an investor that in 2020 there's gonna be these guys who come up with fucking JPEGs basically, and they're going to be selling the JPEGs for hundreds of thousands of dollars, they would have laughed at you, bro. If you were an investor, if you were a stockbroker, an investor, or an investment banker who had a time machine and you went back in time to 2017 and you worked at Goldman Sachs and you told an analyst that shit, they would have kicked you out of the building laughing at you. They would have put you in a straitjacket. They're like, the fuck is this nigga talking about? Ain't nobody's doing that. That's not gonna happen. But fuck, it happened. Because human beings are fucking stupid, bro. Human beings are fucking stupid. You're gonna tell, they're gonna spend their money on something that has no inherent value at all. Well, what are they earning? What are they getting from it? They're getting the image. What do you mean? What else are they getting other than the image? They're getting the ownership of the image. Okay, but what stops them from just copying the image and screenshotting it? Nothing. So then why are they doing it? Well, because they get to show it off to their friends. Okay, but can they use the image for anything else? Can they trade it in for anything? They can trade it into other people in a market that we're going to create. It's based off of the assumption of value that the items have. Okay, but what's the underlying value that they have that keeps them propped up? Speculation.